Hi Mia, thank you for this second draft Global Perspectives individual report, which was really good. Lots of positives here. I thought it was much improved on the first version, which was also pretty good. A little bit of work to do, which we'll chat about, but overall this is a really, really good second draft and a great topic. So thank you very much for allowing me to read this. So first question, I like your question. Sorry, first thought, I like your question. How does the media change people's perspectives on Islam? So a really nice global question that invites lots of different perspectives. You've then got on to introduce. You've used the personal I quite a lot, which is okay because you're giving your personal perspective. But you've told me you're looking at the topic belief systems. I really like the fact that you've told me the topic and the prescribed topic straight away. And obviously you do touch a bit upon the digital world, but your main topic is belief systems. You then said you will focus mostly on the religion of Islam. I would take that word mostly out because I think you're focusing exclusively on the religion of Islam. So take out the word mostly. You said you're going to look especially within America. Now, this is where I think you need to improve it a little bit. So remember, you have to look at global perspective. So America will be one of your perspectives, but it shouldn't be the only one. So just have a think about maybe taking out Islamophobia in America and just mention that you're going to look at different perspectives. You've also mentioned you've got a strong personal perspective. I think that comes across very nicely throughout, and it really helps your analysis. And you can relate to and identify to inequality. You then talk about having solid facts. Now, again, just be careful with solid fact. What is a solid fact? You also talk about fake news. What is fake news? So just show an awareness that you know that different facts can be used within different perspectives. And then you talk about social media, which is one form of media, but obviously you're looking at not just social media, but also TV media you want to talk about. So again, just be careful with a couple of sweeping generalizations. So you're not looking mostly at Islam. I think you're looking completely at Islam. And whilst you talk about social media, remember you're talking about media generally. But then you reference that quite well as well. So I think in your introduction, you've brought the topic in very nicely. You've explained what you're going to look at to a certain extent, and you've brought in your justification. There's two things I would do, Mia, to improve this introduction. The first is just to have a separate subsection saying justification, or use the word justification because it's in your mark scheme. So this is an especially important issue right now because, and make sure you really justify it. And the second one is just to make sure, Mia, that you outline the scope of what your issues will be. And I'll come to this in a moment. So you need to look at 2 or 3 issues within your question and break them up. You then go on to give me some background information, which is okay, a little bit descriptive, but it's okay. It gives me some context about why religions are important. And that continues where you start telling about Muslim tenets. Again, that's all background information. You've mentioned the Quran. Again, you need to reference that and tell me what edition, publication, page number, etc., where you found that information from. So reference everything, please. You then move on to issue 1 about the differences in religions which create conflict. I think, again, you need to be really clear here and just say issue 1 within my question, which is how does media change perspectives? I think you need to say, just make it really clear, issue 1, the media's views on conflict. You go on to talk about the Twin Towers attack, the World Trade Towers attack, which I think is a good example from an American perspective. But I think you need to give me different perspectives here, not just America. So, for example, with the attack on the Twin Towers, you could tell me about American perspectives. For example, there was a famous protest, which if you Google it on different news sites, you'll find information about. There was plans a couple of years after 9/11 to build a mosque at Ground Zero or within a couple of blocks of Ground Zero. And there were big protesters. People come out saying, no, you can't do this. I saw everything I need to know about Islam at 9/11 and that kind of thing. But then there were other people who dug a bit deeper and actually explored the fact that actually Manhattan was an island that was built on literally on the bodies of slaves and 1 in 10 of those slaves were from Africa was Muslim. So you'd get signs like the Sankofa symbol on some of the bones of the bodies and different symbols that were found literally underneath the Twin Towers. So on the one hand, you've got the Twin Towers, people saying it's a memorial to those who died in 9/11, but on the other hand, underneath Manhattan, you've got Muslim bodies. So, should you have a mosque in an area where there are ancient Muslim bodies? And I think that invites a different perspective and a way to look at it. So just be aware that there are different perspectives, even to 9/11 and those kind of things, and bring in a few kind of wider perspectives. I think also within that, Mia, you need to make it really clear, this is the global perspective, put it in bold, here are some national perspectives. Make it really clear, you're not just talking about the USA, but you're talking about other countries as well, and how Islam's affected there. So I think that's your first issue, about how media is affecting people's views of conflict. So I think you need to give some ideas there. You then go on to talk about Islamophobia in America and the first Islamophobia presidents. I'm not quite sure what the issue within this is, but I guess if you're saying it's Donald Trump's take, again, that's just about Donald Trump and about America. Give me some alternative perspective. So again, for issue 2, you might say, within people's perspectives, let's look at Islamophobia. You might say one example is Donald Trump. Talk about him building a wall, him banning Muslims and so on, and the good quotes and references you've got in there. But then compare that with other people. So, for example, in Great Britain, when he made these comments about banning Muslims, the London mayor, Sadiq Khan, who you should research, he's on Twitter, great guy, I really like Sadiq Khan. He helped lead a protest where I think they put a big blimp of Donald Trump in the sky to kind of say you're not welcome here and have a state visit. So you might be worth looking at someone like Sadiq Khan's point of view, because he represents not just Londoners, but the Muslim community in London. And you might want to compare that with him. So issue 1, conflict and how the media can be seen to portray Islamophobia differently. 9/11 is a good example, but you need another one. Issue 2, maybe leadership and Islamophobia, comparing Donald Trump with, say, Sadiq Khan. Okay, so they might be examples of how you could take it a bit further. You've got some really good references in there, Mia, which is great. One thing to be aware of, you do appear to have got quite a lot of websites on there, which is fine, but just make sure, please, that you also get some books and go to the library and that kind of thing. You might want to do your own personal surveys, that kind of issue. You mentioned Mark Albert, but again, things like that you need to reference if it's outside information. And then you conclude to give your personal view, which is great. But again, I think you just need to make it really clear in your headings, this is your personal perspective, and link it back to your global and national. So I would say, Mia, well, first of all, well done on being one of the first 2 or 3 to get your stuff into me. It gave me time to really have a good think and read through. But I think you've got some excellent analysis, some good referencing, a fantastic topic. My one target for your third draft now would be just to make sure you go through and make sure you've given lots of different perspectives from lots of countries. Remember, the name of the game for our course is Global Perspective, so it's got to be more than just America. Show me views in Afghanistan, in France, where I think the hijab was banned in stores not too long ago. Give me examples of maybe the Uyghur people here in China, who are Muslim people who are being allegedly persecuted by the state in the west of China. And again, that you'd have an interesting personal perspective on that because you live in China. So a few things we can do to make it even better, but a really good second draft. I'm looking forward to number 3. So good job, Mia. Work on it this lesson, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye-bye. Excellent work.